Veronica presents the AI Repertory Theatre's production of New World Papers. Book 1, The Historian's Tale, by K.B. Shaw. Chapter 16. The Captain.
Joe was sitting at the table reading a small leather-bound volume when Aiden and I arrived at the archive. 2 other books lay on the glass top.
"I've been here all night,"
said Joe, wiping her eyes.
"I couldn't get to sleep."
Seems to be going around. Aiden walked over to Joe and picked up the books one by one.
"The Journal of Captain Makazinski? Tale of Two Cities? Did you read these?"
Joe nodded.
"Last night?"
What can I say? I'm a fast reader. I think that may be why the missus put me on the team.
Why are your eyes red?
"Have you been crying?"
She slid the book she had been reading across the table to me. I read its title, The Most Excellent and Lamentable Tragedy of Romeo and Juliet.
I can't pretend that I understood all the words, but it's about love.
"Love? What's that?"
I can't explain it. It's a strong feeling for another person that seems to be more than physical attraction. The writer says love is heavy and light, bright and dark, hot and cold, sick and healthy, asleep and awake. It's everything except what it is.
Seems confusing.
It is. This boy, Romeo, and this girl, Juliet, feel love for each other and want to couple, but their families forbid it. They would rather die than live apart. Under love's heavy burden do I sink.
I could almost understand those feelings. I felt a void within me when I was not with Addie, a void that was only filled in her presence. It was more than the physical act of coupling. Coupling could be contracted. This feeling I had for Addie could not. Aiden put her arm around Joe to comfort her. I sat and began to thumb through the book. I had trouble understanding what it was at first. It was mostly people speaking to each other or to themselves in a strange pattern of speech. Then Romeo said something that struck me. "Oh, teach me how I should forget to think." Forget to think! If only I could erase the images in my mind, images of McCrae's dead body and the armory with its dreadful machines. I set the book down and placed my hands on the tabletop. There was a green glow beneath my right hand. An avatar of an older man appeared. He seemed to be a person of authority.
"Welcome, Fallon. Miss Wilkinson, Miss Brennan. I am Captain Bohdan Majinski. How can I help you?"
Captain Majinski became our guide, our interpreter, our teacher. Conversing with the captain was unlike talking to Annika or the other facility guides. He could reason, argue, cajole, offer advice, and even crack a joke. It was as if he were a living person. For the next 2 weeks, Joe, Addie, Bedford, the missus, and I practically lived in the archive. We learned the language of the builders and made plans to bring this knowledge to the movement. Mrs. Greer and Bedford had read the books in the archive, but now they gained a new understanding of them. We could place an artifact on the table, and detailed diagrams and information about it would be displayed. We could discuss the books we read and get the captain's thoughts about our own situation. He explained the reason for leaving the trail of breadcrumbs for us to follow. He even referred us to the tale of Hansel and Gretel to explain the phrase, trail of breadcrumbs. And he confirmed that the gallery hatch led to the surface just north of the Little Silver River, which was beyond the border of Prima Cheetah's original plans. Joe, in particular, became enthralled with the concepts of love, romance, and chivalry. Bedford couldn't get enough information about technology, while Mrs. Greer's interests tended toward social structure and government. Addie reveled in the fictions, not only the physical books the captain had placed in the archive, but also the electronic volumes available. I was captivated by the images and history of art in its many forms. We all loved music, most of it anyway. We each had our own favorite forms. Everything we saw or read spoke to the beauty of humanity. One evening, I was alone in the archive, watching videos that the captain had not shown to any of us up to this point. It depicted the darker side of life on Earth. It was about a man who waged war on Earth and had millions of people killed in the name of racial purity. He ruled through intimidation and by playing on people's fears. I was appalled by the cruelty of our ancestors. The captain took form on the table in front of me.
It only takes one person, one insane person, to oppress a nation or cause a war. The first man to use a piece of wood as a club probably ruled his clan and terrorized his neighbors. When someone learned to make a shield and throw a spear, the club became obsolete. Then came swords, bows and arrows, armor, guns, and on, ad infinitum.
We don't have...
You've read Lenore's reports on the prison camp and the killings, haven't you?
Yes.
Do you doubt that the council is behind them?
No.
And why are they committing these atrocities?
Because they fear what we know. They fear you.
That's hogwash, Fallon, and I think you know it.
I nodded.
They may fear what your little group is up to, but that's not reason enough for what's going on. Something's happening behind the scenes. You need to find out what it is.
When we get topside, we will find out.
I know that you want to go topside, and when you do, I fear you'll be in danger. Go to the armory and activate the table display there. The bridge will be ready in less than a week, so we don't have much time to teach you how to defend yourself.
We had many thought-provoking conversations in the archive. While the captain revealed the horrors of crime, murder, and war only to me, the information he gave the others was enough to suggest not everything was good and beautiful on Earth. Even the disturbing deaths of the young lovers in Joe's favorite story suggested a darkness in humanity. One afternoon, Mrs. Greer said to the captain,
"It seems clear that your world was one of light and dark. Your stories, art, and music can be beautiful and inspiring, or angry and unsettling. It seems that your people could turn anything good into something hateful."
You're correct, Mrs. That is why, while I can't fully support the New World Foundation's intentions, I can sympathize with them. I'm a representative of the Terraformer Corporation. My job was to build out this landmass to our client's specifications, not to pass judgment. However, I believe that the New World Foundation denied human nature. They were committed to creating a world without disease, hate, war, hunger, sexual deviance, or the complications of romantic love. Others had similar ideas. Read up on Karl Marx, and were doomed by not understanding the baseness of human nature. It was this concern that prompted me to leave my trail of breadcrumbs, just in case their little experiment went sour. Was the New World Foundation successful? On the surface, the answer would seem to be yes. You have prospered for all these years. Your explanation of reproductive contracts may have helped to control population growth, yet the practice seems cold and emotionless to me. Moreover, the idea of contracting or paying for sex was once considered immoral. It was called prostitution. But that is just a point of view. In my time, most people were tolerant of other lifestyles, of marriage between members of the same sex.
I thought marriage was for reproduction. How could two men or two...
Marriage is not primarily about making babies, Aidan. It's not even really about love. People fall in and out of love without being married, and they have children too. Marriage is about social standing, legal rights, and responsibilities.
Marriage is a contract, Captain. Only it binds the couples to terms set by their government or their religion, and they are bound forever.
There is divorce, Joe.
Don't get me started. Our contracts have terms and limits set by the couple, nobody else. When it's done, it's done.
Where's love in all of this?
It's there, we just don't have a name for it.
Where?
I love Toby.
There was a tenderness in her voice and a sense of realization.
I can see love in Addie's and Fallon's eyes and can hear it in their voices. Sean and Toby's parents stayed together after their contract, and they keep a common household. That's more than obligation. I say it's love. Mrs. Greer loves New World. If she didn't, she wouldn't struggle with the thought that all this knowledge will hurt the people more than help them.
The archive fell silent. It was Bedford who finally spoke, tactfully changing the direction of the conversation.
The gallery bridge will be ready to deploy tomorrow. So, what would you do, Captain?
This is not my world.
You can't get away with that. We wouldn't be in this quandary if it hadn't been for your breadcrumbs. If you hadn't sown the seeds of our discontent, I would have grown up blissfully ignorant of your world. New World works for the most part.
The most part? What part doesn't work?
The council. It kills people or makes them disappear. We've told you about the manor, and the stories Lenore has collected suggest that there is a forced labor camp upland. Some think it's on the largest Rift Lake island.
So fix the council. Why does it kill? What is it after?
Us!
It fears the knowledge you've given us.
I see two options. You could share this place with the council and let them decide what to do with it.
And the other option?
You can leave New World.
That evening, before dinner, our core group met in the library. Mrs. Greer and Bedford laid out the two plans we had discussed earlier,
Leave.
said Lenore.
This is our home. This is where we live.
This is where we died.
Said Addie.
Remember?
I hate to admit it,
Said Toby.
but it does seem that we may hurt New World more than we help it by staying. Our existence, our knowledge, is what the Council fears. Remove us, and you remove the reason for the Council to kill.
Where would we go if we left?
Asked Sean.
Could we make a life in the basin?
Randall said.
It would be hard, but not impossible.
If the stories about the people held captive upland are true, we'd be abandoning them.
Said Lenore. I know there are 7 counselors, 3 representing the franchisers and 4 representing the guildsmen and workers. Do we know who they are?
No one knows their identities except the Chancellor, and themselves, of course. The thinking is that their anonymity shields them from political influence. The Chancellor's heir assumes the position upon the Chancellor's death or 70th birthday. He secretly convenes the council on Capitol Island, where he meets with each counselor separately. It's a 2-round process. In the first round, the Chancellor presents the issues and collects the counselors' thoughts and arguments. In the second round, the arguments are presented to each counselor and his or her vote is logged. In the case of a tie, the Chancellor casts the deciding vote.
So who's the Chancellor?
Angus Brennan.
I looked at Addie. Your father? She looked down at the table.
No.
She said.
My grandfather.
My late son had contracted with his daughter.
How did your son die?
He became ill during harvest 5 cycles ago.
Then your mother's next in line to become Chancellor. I pondered the implications, then asked Addie, and where's your mother? Addie was on the verge of tears.
After father's death, she was quite shaken. She sent me to live with grandmother.
You haven't seen or heard from her since.
No, not a word.
I shot a look at Lenore. Accidents and disappearances. Mrs. Greer gasped. Her eyes reddened, and she began to cry. Bedford put a comforting hand on her shoulder. I wondered, could this all boil down to bad blood between families, as in Romeo and Juliet? I should talk to the Chancellor. We'll go with you, said Sean. The captain and I have discussed this idea over the last week. It has to be me, alone. The fewer to go topside, the better. And no one knows me in prima sita. I can nose around without raising suspicion. The captain's given me some insights in how to handle myself while I'm topside, and how to negotiate with the council.
The lad is right. The snows are melting and the Chancellor will soon be receiving petitioners at the post-conjunction court. There's a barrister by the name of Franklin who is one of us. I'll give you papers of introduction.
Everyone was gathered in the courtyard.
And Fallon will petition the Chancellor. He'll offer to give the council the generator station and the hydroponics farm as new franchises in exchange for our freedom.
Can we trust the council? We should leave tonight, all of us.
Frank Bianchi, leader of the Right to Know faction, was speaking.
We should get topside while it's dark and make a run for it.
The people around him began to shout.
Topside tonight!
Spread the truth.
We want out!
You can't keep us here.
What if the council is watching? We'd be caught!
We've all heard the stories.
That's why it's foolish for Fallon to go alone. If he's caught, it's all over. But they can't catch us all,
Argued Bianchi.
It only takes one. Just one of us needs to get away and spread the word.
His supporters became vocal again. Then those on the other side of the argument shouted back. The situation was getting out of hand. Finally, Bedford signaled Toby to whistle, and the crowd settled down.
Just give us 1 more week. 1 week for Fallon to carry out his mission.
He focused his gaze on Bianchi and said,
Then anyone who wants to leave can leave.
Bianchi polled his faction and grudgingly nodded agreement. As the meeting disbanded, Bedford pulled Percy and me to one side.
We'd better play it safe. Gather some men you can trust. Set up a guard at the mouth of the aviary entrance tunnel.
After Percy left, Bedford leaned close to me and whispered,
I suggest that you leave before dawn instead of tomorrow night as planned.
Later, while we were lying in bed, Aiden turned to face me and said,
I want to come along. Maybe I could reason with grandfather.
I considered that, but I have a feeling in my stomach it wouldn't be safe for you. Best I go alone. I kissed her on the forehead and said, what can you tell me about him?
Honestly, I have no memories of the man, or even my father for that matter. And my images of mother are fading, even in my dreams.
We didn't make love that night. Instead, we fell asleep in a comforting embrace. The evening before, we had gathered clothing appropriate for the weather topside this time of the cycle. Lenore had taken the cart and made a midnight run to the mess. She had a special treat waiting for us in the pod's meeting room: hot coffee and a bowl of fresh strawberries, newly harvested from the hydroponics farm. I savored the berries while looking up at the half-moon setting in our ceiling display. How could we keep this from the people of New World? How could we keep electricity and light and hydroponics and our world's history a secret? Randall arrived, and it was time to go. I kissed Aiden goodbye, and the twins and I drove off to the aviary. We didn't speak. We sensed that once again our world was about to change, and maybe not for the better. Or to defend popped into my mind. When we reached the mouth of the tunnel, Percy's men had 4 people, 3 men and a woman, sitting on the floor with their backs to the wall. They were all dressed as I was, ready to go topside.
They tried to sneak in,
said Percy. Hold them here until midday, then send them back to the commons. We parked the cart and went to the office complex. When we were almost to the dressing room, I made an excuse that I had left my gloves in the cart. I'll be back before you're suited up. I jogged down the corridors and made my way to the armory, placed my hand against the plate, and entered. I had surreptitiously studied the weapons with the captain over the last 2 weeks and knew what I was looking for: a pistol. I scanned the walls for the one I wanted, the one the captain had taught me to use. I found it, ejected the magazine, and searched for the proper ammunition. I filled the magazine, snapped it into the pistol, made sure the safety was on, and tucked the pistol into my waistband. The others were just pulling up their hoods when I got back. We breached the hatch, then headed north along the gallery. The sky was clear and star-filled. I almost missed the sight of the moon in the night sky. I wondered what Earth was like. Our studies had shown that the people of Earth were self-destructive, so I wondered if it had survived its attempts to kill itself. Sol Minor was beginning to rise by the time we reached the crevice. The bridge was a marvel of metal tubing, wheels, tracks, pulleys, and ropes. With the bridge retracted, we were fully 12 meters back from the crevice. Randall pulled me into a meter-deep nook his team had carved into the wall of the gallery at the end of the bridge structure.
Stand in here and let the twins do their job.
Sean advanced to the end of the bridge work. He took the longer rope and handed it to Toby behind him, then grasped the other one in his own hands. They both turned away from the hatch, with the ropes trailing over their shoulders. Toby was now in the lead. They wrapped the loose ends around their waists, and Toby shouted, "Ho!" They strained into the ropes and took a step forward. The bridgework creaked. Sean gave it a backward kick. The bridge shuddered and began to move down the gallery. With every step, the bridge extended farther across the crevice. Toby passed the nook, followed by Sean. I was now free to advance to the end of the bridgework and push. With the 3 of us applying pressure, it moved quickly and was soon resting on the far ledge. The bridge wasn't tall enough for me to cross standing up, so I crawled. Water from the melting ice drummed on its thin metal roof. The bridge was solid and the crossing swift. I stood on the other side, turned back, and gave the twins and Randall a thumbs up. They returned the gesture. The hatch was free of ice, but somewhat corroded. I had to work hard to get the wheel to turn.
Do you need help?
Yelled Toby. I shook my head and leaned into the wheel. There was a grating sound and the wheel started to move. I worked it loose and spun it into open position, then swung the door open. I pointed to the door and called back, "You might want to oil this thing when I'm gone." They laughed. I stepped inside and noticed a static box at the foot of a metal ladder. I cranked the lights to full power and closed the door behind me.
End of chapter 16. Next up, Topside.